Welcome back to the 2016-2017 NBA preview. Today we are covering the 17th ranked team, the Charlotte Hornets. My name is Joshua Envyerz, and with me today, like usual,
how's it going, guys? It's the king of the fourth quarter. Welcome back to the NBA preview.
So the Charlotte Hornets, this team was a lot last season. They were a very unpredictable team, and they managed to make the playoffs and force the Miami Heat to Game 7.
Yeah, they surprised a bunch of people. A lot of people didn't expect them to make the playoffs, and when they were there, a lot of people didn't expect them to take a team to Game 7. So, I mean, a good season for them overall. Of course, not enough to get to the championship or anything, but just a good season.
And this team did all of that, taking Miami to Game 7, reaching the playoffs. They did all of that without Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. He was out with a shoulder tear, a labrum surgery?
He tore his labrum. I know too much about that. Yes, he tore his labrum.
Tore his labrum, came back, played like 2-3 games, and he had a pretty good stat line those 2-3 games of his back, and then he tore it again.
Yeah. It's one of those injuries. If you don't get it fixed right, it'll keep happening. Let's hope that he comes back and it's actually good, but
he might have came back too fast, and it would have been interesting to see how he would have been playing in the playoffs. Maybe this team could have got past that first round if they had Michael Kidd-Gilchrist still. Or maybe they would have been worse. Who knows?
Offensively, it seems they'll probably be worse. But definitely defensively, they could have used that update or the upgrade at that position. But I'm hopeful that he's going to be good for the season. The labrum tear usually doesn't keep people out for that long. I was actually surprised that he was out for the entire season, to be honest with you. But hopefully this season he can be good. Improve on his jump shot, maybe.
Yeah, that jump shot, man. Probably one of the ugliest in the NBA currently. Besides big guys in the league. I don't even know if
that's a probably. That thing is ugly.
Does the Matrix out here? I've seen it. So, hopefully he's able to return from injury and be productive with this team, and actually help this team out. Because I feel like with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who knows if he would have helped this team. But I feel like he definitely would have in the playoffs.
And for the organization, too, they want their former number 2 pick in those type of games. The playoff games, those help build players to be great. And he had to sit out the entire playoffs. So I'm sure they want him back. Jordan wants him back. And I'm sure he wanted to be on the court, too.
Luckily, they had the resurgence of Marvin Williams, who's been kind of a productive player with this team the past 2 years. And he got a nice big contract with the Charlotte Hornets team to be that stretch 4.
Yeah, well-deserved, too, man. People were really talking bad about him. I mean, former top pick, and he just didn't come out to play. But now in Charlotte, something happened where he's actually a productive player.
He's home.
UNC. So now he's finally a productive player, and that's good for the city, good for him. And that contract does look good.
So hopefully he's able to keep that up, and as he ages, he's able to continue to be that stretch 4. And that seems to be the way with a lot of players that just can't seem to cut it at that small forward position. As they grow older, they move to that power forward, considering how the game's changed, and they excel at it. I mean, just look at guys like Luol Deng and Paul Pierce a little bit as well. So now let's take a look at the offseason moves of the Charlotte Hornets team. They acquired Marco Bellinelli, Roy Hibbert, Ramon Sessions, Brian Roberts. It's an okay acquisition right there, but they lost some major players that would have took this team over the top, in my opinion, if they were able to at least re-sign one of these guys, being Al Jefferson, Jeremy Lin, and Courtney Lee, along with trading away Troy Daniels, and drafted nobody.
Yeah, Jeremy Lin was such a good backup point guard. I don't know if people give him that credit. He had such a good season for them, and now he's gone to probably be a starter there in Brooklyn, without a doubt. And then Courtney
Lee,
win
a lot less games.
Yeah, win a lot less games. His stats may look a little better, but Courtney Lee was another player that just helped his team so much. And again, he's gone. So they took a couple big losses this offseason.
And replacing Al Jefferson with Roy Hibbert, that's the disrespect.
I mean, hey, their defense. No, that's not true. Let's just skip that.
Al Jefferson's an offensive big, and Roy Hibbert, is he a defensive big anymore? Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good question.
He disappeared. What they gained and what they lost a lot. This team kind of took a step back a little bit.
They traded their pick for Marco Bellinelli.
Yeah, they needed a shooter.
And that's not a guy that I think is going to work out. I mean,
I feel like it's the Courtney Lee thing. Courtney Lee was a 3-and-D guy. Marco Bellinelli is a 3 guy, and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist is a D guy. So I feel like that's what they try to do.
I'm sure they probably could have got somebody better than Marco Bellinelli.
I mean, he's a good shooter. But Troy Daniels was a good shooter too, and he was a lesser contract, so I don't know.
They could have kept that pick. So this offseason was definitely a weird one for the Hornets.
So let's take a look at this rotation for this Charlotte Hornets team. The projected starting rotation looks like Kemba Walker, Nicholas Batum, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Marvin Williams, Cody Zeller, while the bench looks like Ramon Sessions, Jeremy Lamb, Marco Bellinelli, Frank Kaminsky, and Roy Hibbert.
Wow. Their team doesn't look too good, man.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to that bench. The starting lineup is serviceable. I like Nicholas Batum. He had such a good season last year. Kind of bounced back from his last season in Portland, which was just atrocious. But that bench does not look good, man. Yeah. And Charlotte fans are probably hating that they drafted Frank Kaminsky over some of the other guys in that draft.
Like who? Devin Booker?
Devin Booker was about 6 picks after him. Justice Winslow was also after him. Last year's draft was kind of stacked if you think about it, at least as far as potential. And Frank Kaminsky just didn't play great his rookie season. I'm guessing that they're hoping that he can be better, but there were better guys out in that draft, and that could have helped this team right now.
My biggest thing is Jeremy Lamb. Let's see if he comes out to play. He got that extension. He's getting that Danny Green money, so that means he must be a good player. And it's going to be interesting to see how he progresses his career, because he kind of had a resurgence with the Charlotte Hornets team when he was getting minutes, probably due to Kemba Walker, Connecticut teammates. And it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to continue the good play.
Yeah, I was a big fan of him back in college, his NCAA championship run. And I expected him to come to the league and just be really good. He was drafted in the lottery. I was like, okay, he's going to have a good season or a good career. It just hasn't really been the case. He probably
would have had a good career if he stayed with the Rockets, but he was a part of the James Harden trade, and he got buried in the bench. So.
Yep. I mean, he played some pretty good minutes for OKC his second year, if I'm not mistaken, but last year, as you mentioned, was his season where he hit career highs and everything. So hopefully he can build upon that season and be a better player for their rotation.
Now moving on to the projections of this Charlotte Hornets team. This Charlotte Hornets team won 48 games, lost 34. They were kind of tied with the other 4 teams that were as well with the same record. Over, under, where do you see this team being this upcoming season?
Under. Just the losses that they suffered this season or this offseason were pretty big. As you mentioned, Jeremy Lin, such a great backup. Courtney Lee, 3-and-D guy. And Al Jefferson, even though he probably didn't have the best season with them last year, still a better big man than Roy Hibbert. So I'm going to say they're going to lose more games this season. And you said 42 wins last year?
48 wins last year.
48, wow.
They were really good.
Wow, okay. So from 48, they'll probably drop to 42.
Yeah, that's a real good pick right there. I would say 40 to 44 wins. I feel like that's their high, 44. This team just doesn't look as good as they were last season, and their coach is kind of questionable in my opinion. Steve Clifford.
You know what? I think I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. Their roster last year was not great, and you just mentioned 48 wins?
48. And that's because, wait for it, okay? The all-star snub in Kemba Walker, who should have been an all-star over Isaiah Thomas. He should have been an all-star over Isaiah Thomas, and he willed this team to the playoffs. Him and Jeremy Lin, they were a nice combo, and now that Lin's gone, who does Kemba have to help him out? Is it Jeremy Lamb? Is it Nick Batum? Is it Ramon Sessions? It's really questionable. They lost major free agents this offseason, and I don't think they could recover from that.
I still think that Steve Clifford is a solid coach in the league.
I mean, I guess if you want to be mediocre and be in the middle of the pack.
I mean, there's not many better options out there.
Yeah, I know. True. A lot of the coaches are having, jobs now, but Kevin McHale's still out there.
That's true.
I'm not sure if Kevin McHale is a better coach, but he's always an option.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll find a job somewhere.
Or if Michael Jordan just wants to coach this team himself, God. Who knows? Maybe he's a better coach than he is an owner.
He has no choice. He's going to have to be a better coach the way he's been owning that team.
And maybe he has those motivational talks. He could say, I wouldn't do this in my day, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be kind of interesting to see Michael Jordan coach this team. It probably wouldn't work out, but it would be interesting to say the least.
Yeah. There'll be more focus on Michael Jordan, what he's doing on the sideline, than what's going on in the game.
Yeah. Maybe then, if Michael Jordan was coaching, they wouldn't remove the All-Star game from Charlotte. Rest in peace, All-Star game.
Yeah.
It's really messed up. This team was having a bright future, and then they just had it stripped away, just like their playoff hopes this upcoming season. So with that said, these are our projections for this Charlotte Hornets team this upcoming season. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. Really appreciate it to help this series grow. All of our social media links will be in the description as well. So if you want to check that out, that'd be awesome.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to be looking out for tomorrow's video when we go over the next team on the list.
We're getting to the good teams.
Yeah.
Essentially, these teams are now all going to be in the playoffs, so it's going to be interesting. We'll talk to you then.